Welcome back into the chittering, skittering, eternally dark world of Tribal Wars. As you can see, this week I am playing with rats. Now, the rat tribe is something I've been experimenting with since the days that I was just playing Magic casually at the kitchen table, before I ever even knew about Magic the Gathering Online. And it's a tribe that's pretty interesting, but I've never felt completely satisfied with any of my builds of it. I think I mentioned it in one of my previous videos when I played against rats. Is rats has a lot of discard effects built into its tribe, and what my experience is, what tends to happen is you build a rat deck around that effect, and you end up with something that's very good at pushing the game into a top deck war quite quickly, but then isn't necessarily very good at winning top deck wars. So if you've got a bunch of discard effects, once you get to top deck mode, they don't do anything. And traditionally, I found that rat decks are they don't have enough power to really punish making the opponent stumble in that way. So they do tend to turn into top deck battles that you don't necessarily win. The newest bit of technology for the tribe is Rat Colony. This is from Dominaria, I think. Rat Colony gets +1/+0 for each other rat you control. The deck can have any number of cards named Rat Colony, so I've got 14 Rat Colonies. This is similar to, is it Relentless Rats, I think? Yeah, this is the previous sort of version of this kind of card, but with some significant improvements, I think. Relentless Rats gets +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield named Relentless Rats, and a deck can have any number of cards named Relentless Rats. So the Rat Colony is better in an actual rat tribal because it's for each other rat you control, so your Typhoid Rats and your Pack Rats and your Chittering Rats also benefit it. And the other thing is that 2 mana is quite a lot less than 3 mana, especially for a card which you want to have your deck stacked with. That it takes so long to get to a point where you can cast 2 Relentless Rats on the same turn. A lot quicker to be able to cast 2 Rat Colonies on a turn, or a Rat Colony in a 1-drop or what have you. So the idea of the deck is to maintain a bit of the discard theme that the tribe supports. So the idea is just to disrupt the opponent a bit and then play some Rat Colonies to be able to actually pressure them quickly and kill them before they top deck something that kills you. So in the other game, we've got a bit of Disruption, Inquisition of Kozilek, and Cabal Therapy. Fatal Push is the 1 mana removal, and then Typhoid Rats as I think the best 1 mana rat. I'm not entirely sure. There are some other options, but none of them are amazing. Then Pack Rat. This is, I still think, better than Rat Colony. Rat Colony has more power generally, but this is just a much tougher creature, obviously, and it's much better if you flood or whatever. So yeah, Pack Rat's still worthwhile. Still better than Rat Colony. Hymn to Tourach, another amazing way of disrupting the opponent. But again, something that really pushes you to be able to actually kill the opponent before you start drawing these in the late game. Chittering Rats. When Chittering Rats enter the battlefield, target opponent puts a card from their hand on top of their library. So this is a card that varies from basically being a 2/2 with a Time Walk strapped to it, in its best case scenario, to being a just 3 mana vanilla 2/2 in its worst case scenario. Again, it's something that gets pretty bad if your opponent has an empty hand, and it's okay if they have a hand full of things. It's a 2 for 1. But where it really shines is where the opponent has a hand full of things they can't cast, or just 1 or 2 cards or whatever in their hand that they can't cast and nothing else, because that's when it's a Time Walk. You put a card they can't cast back on the library, that's the next draw. If you're pressuring them with aggressive rats, that is really, really good. Only 2 though, because as I said, at its worst case scenario, if the opponent's got an empty hand, let's say 3 mana 2/2, which is pretty miserable. And then topping it off with just 1 Murderous Cut is just unconditional removal. I mean, the nature of rat colonies is unfortunately they only ever have 1 toughness, so they do have a tendency to trade off. So it's reasonable odds you'll have a fairly stocked graveyard, especially if you're playing Inquisitions and Hymns and such like. The fairly simple land base, lots of swamps, Swarmyard, regenerates like an insect, rat, spider or squirrel. Well, obviously the only thing we care about here is the rat, but it's really good. Great with typhoid rats as a trade as anything, kill anything, don't trade. Good with rat colony, as I said, otherwise it's very, very flimsy, so protection from that, and a good way of protecting a pack rat if the game plan is just to ride a single pack rat to victory, protected from removal and such. Yeah, like I said, lots of swamps, and then we've got a pair of Bloodstained Mines and a pair of Polluted Deltas. These are only fetch lands I own, but they're there, even though it's a mono black deck, to get Revolt for Fatal Push and a little bit of fuel for Murderous Cut, and also to occasionally search up this last land, Leech-Ridden Swamp. This is a swamp, enters the battlefield tapped. Each opponent loses 1 life. Activate this ability only if you control 2 or more black permanents. So, not sure if this is actually worthwhile. It does come into play tapped, which might be a problem occasionally, but with fetch lines to search it up, you can get it when you need to. And it's basically for those situations where you start applying pressure, but then the opponent manages to stabilise, put out some defensive creatures or whatever, and you can't get through. Get them low, and then just do 2 or 3 damage with Leech-Ridden Swamp. That can potentially end games, so I'll see how that does. Alright, I think that's everything I've got to say. Let's see how the rat colony can do. Okay, quick addendum. I remembered that I own a Urborg to Tomb of Yawgmoth, so obviously just 1 copy of that. So Swarmyard can make black mana, so I'll feel very good if I go Urborg, Swarmyard, Hymn to Torag in this event. Okay, and now onto the games. Okay, here we are, round 1 against Cruel Hellraiser on the draw, and I think an acceptable hand. Swarmyard, when you've only got 1 other land, can be a bit awkward, and just the colourless mana for Judge Hate play basically a 1-drop and anything else on turn 3, but yeah, it's a cute one. Swarmyard is obviously still a powerful land in this deck, so just grab a swamp and get Typhoid Rats out. Just need to be careful when I'm fetching lands that I don't accidentally get Leech-Ridden Swamp when I don't want it. Gearshift Ace. Okay, so Dwarves or Pilots most likely. And I guess I want to do Swarmyard because I'm... Oh wait, no. I was going to say, anyway, I'm about to block the Typhoid Rats with the Gearshift Ace, but it doesn't actually do anything because of the way First Strike and Regenerate interact. Because even though it regenerates, it gets removed from combat, so that wouldn't actually do anything. Do I want a pack rat or rat colony first? So it's 3-1 versus a 2-2. Neither of them interact with Gearshift Ace that well this turn. Let's just go for pack rat. I don't know. I honestly don't have a strong reason for doing that, but it's the choice I've made. I mean, against white, I mean, typically you save pack rat until turn 3 with the Swarm Yard to protect it from removal, but against white, the removal is most likely going to come in exile forms. That wouldn't do anything. Okay. So, grab another swamp, and choices are pack rat, fatal push, hold up Swarm Yard, or play 2 creatures, either 2 rat colonies or 2 pack rats. Again, removal's most likely to come in white, in exile form, so I don't think there's that much value in holding up Swarm Yard, so I'll just play out a pack rat and a rat colony. I'll make the pack rat a 3/3. And might inhibit the Gearshift Ace from attacking. And it's just another path to exile. Okay. And there's the copter. So probably I guess what I want to do is fatal push the Gearshift Ace. Get a vehicle against first strike. So maybe there's not much use in actually doing that. In fact, against an opponent who's stuck on mana, I want a Chittering Rat this turn. And I definitely want to hold up the Fatal Push. So both. Playing the Chittering Rat before combat just because it gives an extra +1/+0 to the Rat Colony. Generate the Rat Colony. I could push the Gearshift Ace, but then if Cruel Hellraiser has another creature to play to its crew the Smuggler's Copter, that could be a problem for me. Because I've got to stop them opponents beginning a combat. Definitely don't want the Smuggler's Copter to trigger against an opponent who's stuck on 2 lands. So kill the Gearshift Ape with Fatal Push. Play another Rat Colony maybe. It's 5, 6, 7, 8 down to 10. and just hold up the swarm yard rather than play out the pack rat. Veteran motorist. So attack with everything, gear shift 8 +1, rat colony, veteran motorist on the other, can save one of them, so I'm essentially trading a rat colony for a veteran motorist and dealing 3 damage. I think what I'd rather do is just play a pack rat and then hold up the mana to discard swamp to it rather than attacking into the first striker and then just have plenty of attackers next turn. Okay, Depala. I think I'm fine just attacking with everything here. Because what? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it should be lethal. Provided I think I have to save the first strike, save the thing against first strike. So if I don't, that'll shrink down. So 7, 8, 9, 10, but if I don't regenerate this one, then this would shrink down back down to a 6 before it dealt damage. So there we go. Did we go? There we go. Good start for the rats. I mean, was against a somewhat mana screwed opponent, but part of that was because Chittering Rat's ability to punish such a situation and extend the screw. Certainly those first strike guys are a little bit annoying against the rat colonies. And the Chittering Rats and the Typhoid Rats. Okay, here we are for game 2. Leech-ridden Swamp obviously being a bit inconvenient here, but a hand with Swarm Yard's pretty good, and all the mana, black mana, Fatal Push is obviously pretty good. So let's just play out Typhoid Rats again. Let's Gear Shift Ace again. I think that's a little bit annoying once more. Yeah, let's just Swamp and Rat Colony. Veteran Motorist. Not nearly as annoying as the first strike and Gear Shift Ace. 1 card on bottom and 1 on top. Ooh. Getting hit for 2. Okay, so let's just play a Swarmy Yard. attack. And against path. Okay, it's not the worst. And then I think I'll just Rat Colony and holding up Swarm Yard. Smuggler's Copter. This one gives +1/+1 when it crews something. Can't really afford to attack. I mean, you can't really attack it in a way that does anything beneficial. Oh? Well, that's curious. What could that mean? I have absolutely no idea. I'm just going to block. Okay, I guess it made a mistake. Okay. I think I'm trying to Rat Colony, hold up Swarm Yard, play the Leech Ridden Swamp, and hold up Fatal Push. Cruise vehicle, that vehicle gains haste. Oh, I guess it is pilots. Probably rather than dwarves. Now, the question here is whether Smuggler's Copter or Gear Shift Ace is actually more annoying. I think we're going to let him attack with Smuggler's Copter at least once. Just because if I kill the Gear Shift, it depends on if he plays something else here, but if I can kill the Gear Shift Ace, play Chittering Rats next turn, that's 11 points of damage getting through, which is quite a lot of damage. Okay, another Veteran Matrix is not so bad. Because it's still not very good against Swarm Yard. Card on bottom, one card on bottom, one on top. So let's kill the Gear Shift Ace. I guess that doesn't really do that much, so it's just Chittering Rats to make him put his card back on top. So this is a situation where Chittering Rats is sort of a time walk. Attack with everything, doesn't have any positive blocks. Just taking 11. I suppose with Smuggler's Copter being able to loot, that's overstating it a bit much to say Chittering Rats is a time walk there, but it's still fine. With Swarm Yard it means that it's hard for Cruel Hellraiser to attack on the ground here. Just holding everything back on the fence, okay. Is there any value in playing Inquisition here? Yes. It means that even blocking with Smuggler's Copter doesn't allow him to loot it away. If it's something you can cast like a removal spell, and this is not going to do much, but if he was just planning on looting it away with the Copter... Ah! Okay, well I'm very glad I did that! It's also a choice with deal damage this... So, no point in attacking with the rat colony with that rat colony this turn. So if I attack with all three, I guess you can crew the Copter, eat the chittering rats. Block a rat colony. I think it might be... Oh! Well, that was not correct. That's not what I meant to do. I was planning on just attacking with one rat colony. And then I don't think it would have had any particularly beneficial blocks at that point. So that was a potentially bad mistake. Not going to play the Herbivore just because if I draw a pack rat I want some fodder to discard. Okay, so attacking with the Smuggler's Copter for 4. Not drawing and discarding by the looks of it. Okay, each opponent loses a life. Attack with everything. Has to block both of the rat colonies. Save one. Goes down to 3. What have we got for 4 mana? Fleetwheel Cruiser. When it enters the battle, it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So that is 9 damage. Let's crew this Copter with the Motorist, but which gives it +1/+1. But that's still 4 + 5 is 9. Yeah, that's what he's doing. Leech-ridden Swamp and then pass the turn. Oh. That was a scary one. Do you manage to just slip out there with a very close victory? Here we are for round MTGO Freak Out. I don't know what this is. Oh, there we go. Has that fixed it? Yeah, there we go. Just need to resize it, and well, that's not exactly right. Yes, I'd like to play first. Oh, yeah, everything. I have life, I have cards, I have a deck. I have a hand. So there's obviously one land, but Inquisition into Inquisition, fake the push to hold things off, and then just the capacity to completely destroy the opponent's hand. Thy Shuffler. I don't know how to interpret that. Maybe they've got powerful abilities to make sure I have a bad draw there. I'll keep it. I'm sure I'll draw a land before too long. Let's see what they got going on. Okay, so looks like another rat deck. For each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend returns a creature from their graveyard to their hand. Each foe sacrifices a creature they control. Okay, so that's fairly potent. It's going to be Grave Robber. Okay. So, taking Typhoid Rats would be the most damaging for their curve. Burglar Rats is the easy 2 for 1. And the 1/1 matches up well against the Rat Colony. Versus Maneuver. That's a potential 2 for 1. I think I'll just take the Burglar Rat. Take the Burglar Rat, take the Vertices Maneuver with my next one. So it's Marsh Flats and Typhoid Rats. And another hymn. That's all 3 hymns. So another Typhoid Rats. I think I'm going to take the Vertices, just because I can Fatal Push the Grave Robber. There's Nezumi. I really would like to get a land so I can start actually Hymn to Toraking before the opponent's hand is completely empty and they just become worthless. So I got a Typhoid Rats. Oh, thank goodness we got a Vindicate. I don't really want my lands getting blown up in this situation. So just an Ink Eyes in hand. So a while before that can come down. Pack Rat. Well, this is just a 2/1 right now. Play a Rat Colony. I'm just going to start exiling my graveyard. Dang, so this can flip now. Let's say 4-2. So and it can put a target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield on your control, so it's any graveyard. So you probably won't attack with it. Or anything. Pretty sure it's still got 2 CMC or less. I think I can... I'm probably going to have to trade a for the Typhoid Rats at some point, so... I think I'm happy just... Especially since it further... also what I'm looking for... Traps Ink Eyes in Light Shuffler's hand. Okay, I think I'm going to hit him. Because it could be a removal in hand. Ink Eyes and Visitor's Maneuver. Okay, so... That's all alright by me. Just use this Bloodstained Mire to grab a... whatever the tap swamp is called. Leech-ridden Swamp. And... I think I want a Pack Rat. Probably discard this Hintertor right next turn. Okay, never mind. Delta for a swamp and just play Pair of Colonies. No surprise here that the Rat Mirror is devolved into a top deck war. Okay. Guess I don't mind trading off at this point. Shockingly, my Shuffler is not willing to trade a Pack Rat. If I play a Swamp, it allows me to both Pack Rat and activate Leech-ridden Swamp. So I think that's worth it. Okay. No fancy blocks or anything. Could have blocked and traded off, but I mean, that leaves me with a Pack Rat token anyway, so that's not really super appealing to the opponent. Ooh, Council's Judgment. Oh, damn, I should have Leechwood and Swamp in response. I didn't think about the actual... it does actually have a requirement. That's when this ability only if you control 2 or more black permanents. I think I'm still in the advantage. Attack, presume no blocks. Nope, shocking. Discard the Inquisition. Going for 2, and I was thinking about activating Leechwood and Swamp this turn, but I'm sure I can remember to not to make the same mistake twice. This could be a ninjutsu, that might be no, it's just a Vault of the Archangel being discarded. Opponent's down to 6, so gotta have something special here, because even if I couldn't attack, I've got 2 Leechwood and Swamp activations. We'll win it. And there we go. So yeah. In the rat mirror, the person with slightly more pack rats wins, I suppose. And not a super great hand, but keepable. Sci-fi rats. Ooh. Could Cabal Therapy. Pack Rat's probably the most dangerous card, and one I might want to name. But Rat Colony is the most likely to be in their hand. God, it's just too sweet if I do manage to hit multiple Rat Colonies not to do it, so I'm doing it. Come on, 4 Rat Colonies. Ah, just 1. A Chittering Rats. Okay. Oh. Wasteland can take out my Leechwood and Swamp, but beyond that, not a lot going on in my opponent's hand. God, what I almost want to do is just play a Typhoid Rat rather than a Rat Colony. Play the Bloodstained Mire on the assumption that the opponent will Chittering Rats. And then I put the Leechwood and Swamp back on top and then shuffle it away. That might well be a bit too fancy and a bit too largely worthwhile. Is it though? Oh, I'm doing it. I don't know. I don't know which is correct, but this is what I want to do. our trade when there's a 2-2 out to come down. Chittering Rats. Goodbye Leech-ridden Swamp. Is there any reason now to actually grab the Leech-ridden Swamp? So it's likely to just get wastelanded away. I don't know, let's just not bother. So Chittering Rats is gone. Is that Scrubland the one that that's already been played? God, I should have kept more track of that. Yeah, I think it is. Ah, well, isn't that annoying? Maybe the Ice Shuffler thinks of me as a friend. Oh no, I'm a foe. I guess just sack the Typhoid Rats. Rat Colony can trade with all the same things and it applies more pressure. There's Wasteland. I'm going to attack with the Rat Colony first, just because I think it makes it marginally more likely that the Ice Shuffler doesn't actually block. The Ice Shuffler does. It's possible that's an indication of another Vertices maneuver, but it's not a big indication if it is. I suppose, no, I mean with Vertices maneuver you'd want to get the Chittering Rats into the grave rather than anything else. Oh dear. And that is... I can't push the Chittering Rats, unfortunately. Chain's Edict. I guess I don't attack. But this is not so good for me. Akiba Gang Shinobi. Okay. So things are starting to spiral out of control a little bit here. Yeah, that's not helping. suppose you... Maybe they shuffle, destroy target, just to get in and maybe discard. No, no such luck. Even that, even think that would be a pretty great, particularly great position for me, but it'd be better than this. Chain of Edicts. So this makes me discard, so I'll play discards 2 cards, so there's no reason not to cast this. Oh, there's another Rat Colony to die to Obnick's list probably. Oh, it's just... Okay, I think it's possible that I couldn't win a couple of turns ago, but I'm reasonably sure I can't win now. In fact, that is discard 1 this turn, draw 2 next turn, discard them both. Yeah, that's 4, 8, 11, so I am actually literally just dead. Okay. Well, that game, the opponent's rats managed to out mid-range my not mid-range rats, so I'm sure I'm on the play now. I'm sure everything will go fine. I think this is a keepable hand. Let's just die okay. I think I'm just going to take the swords. Well, wait. No, maybe I just need to take the pack rat just because Murderous Cut might be too expensive to actually kill the pack rat before it starts going wild. Alright, let's take the pack rat. Scrubland. Let's run a rat colony into a Swords to Plowshares, I guess. Yeah, there you go. That's another land that's been drawn. So I'm going to route the rat colony just in case more removal's been drawn. There's Wasteland. And just the Chittering Rats. Ooh, is the pack rat going to survive? Okay, that's a good position for me. Yeah. I don't think Last Strife is the living weapon each quick creature gets +1/+1 for each swamp, and you can use Phyrexian mana for it. And Whip of Erebos gives Lights Link and allows you to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay. So, just ditch the Typhoid Rats. Opponent gets back their Pack Rat. But I'm obviously ahead on the Pack Rat race. I mean, I didn't want to trade off Rat Colony for Chittering Rats before, just because Chittering Rats is something that's pretty good to get with Whip of Erebos, but I think I'm willing to trade off now, just because that takes so long. That would take so long to do. Hooray! Pack Rat is as powerful and stupid as ever. Alright, on to round 3. Okay, here we are, round 3 on the play versus TLR, with a very functional hands by the look of it. Possibly a difficult decision for TLR as to whether to mulligan here. And it's a keep on 7 for Talur. Just go for an Inquisition. See what we're facing. Oh, okay, so it's a Living End. Serpent? Cycling thing? I have to read some of these cards. Dreamliner can't attack unless if any player controls an island. Sacrifice an island, target land becomes an island at the end of turn. That seems like a highly fillerish card. Cycler, Living End in hand, Cascade card. In case you're not familiar, Cascade, cast a spell, exile cards from the top of your library into the exile a non-land card that costs less. This has no mana cost, so whenever you play a Cascade card in this deck, always going to hit a Living End. Lots of cycling cards in the deck to find a Cascade card. So, taking the Shardless Agent and hoping that TLR doesn't find another Cascade card. Fortunately, Pack Rat, if I can get up to the 3rd mana, be quite useful because I can discard other creatures and then Living End, exile all creatures from the graveyard, sacrifice all creatures, and put all cards of excellence way into the battlefield. So if I can stock up my own graveyard, that's not the worst. Can I play an Urborg? I can't play an Urborg. So fundamentally, no card in TLR's deck is going to cost less than 3 to actually cast. So it's going to be all combo, no interaction most likely. So it's Flooded Strand. Third line would have been really nice here. I think I'm just going to play a Rat Colony. So that's been cycled. So this strand's been played. And now Cascade this turn, it looks like. There goes the Street Wraith. The land. Well, give me a land. Ooh. The regeneration doesn't do anything because Living End is sacrifice all creatures we control, so... Definitely want to discard a creature here. I think this for this first one, well, I guess I'll discard the Typhoid Rats. That if a Cascade happens here, I don't think I'm in good shape anyway, but another cycle. So the odds of having found a Cascade card by now are pretty decent. Come on, no Cascade, no Cascade, no Cascade. I suppose he could just be casting a Dreamwinder. No, this looks like Shardless Agent. Okay. So it's not as bad as you might think. Street Race is a bit of a problem. But fortunately I can hold up Swarm Yard or a Faithful Push. Okay, let's just pack. Well, no. I guess I need to Rat Colony because that one can actually trade with something. This is 5, 10, 13, 15, 18, 21, 23. I could... Typhoid right in front of the Striped Riverwinder. 5, 8, 10, 16, 18. Go down to 2. Block there. 5, 8, 11, 14, 16. Regenerate the Typhoid Rats. I suppose you've still got Dreamwinder in hand that you can cast. So yeah, I guess this doesn't actually matter that much. That the There's no way I can put out enough defense to not be dead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one's getting guaranteed to get through. Yeah, no. Super dead. Just super dead. Okay. Oh god. Oh, this is an interesting one. Yeah, I'm keeping it. This is a admittedly risky one, but I do think Packrat's probably my best card in the matchup. Just gotta leech Ridden Swamp just so I'm... Well, that's an interesting question. Do I Hymn to Tourach? And if I do I do it now? I suppose... Well, it's a situation where if I hit the Tourach now, it's got a greater chance of taking out lands and mana screwing in. But it also has a greater chance of just hitting cycle cards, which isn't that good to hit. So maybe it's just better. It's probably better to just wait until he at least cycles a couple of things, and then I'll have a higher chance of actually hitting a Cascade card. Alright, this turn I'm just going to discard a Packrat. Another cycle, Sarkhan Serpent. And a Brindlebore. Okay, I'm just going to create another token. Street Wraith. And nothing. Okay. So I guess that probably indicates he's got some kind of instant speed cascade thing, because on board I can create another pack. Oh no, sorry, no, I can only attack for 12. Okay, I'm just going to him to Tourach, I guess. Oh, maybe that's... No, I don't know, maybe that's super wrong. Well, I don't know, because it's a situation where if he's got a Cascade card in hand right now, he has to make a decision as to whether to risk losing it to the Hymn to Tourach, or let him resolve and potentially discard a couple more creatures. This is probably going to be quite a difficult, quite a hard decision for him. Ooh, force of will. Okay. That's sort of just... Well, I don't know if that's even worse for me, but... Well, if he didn't want him to Torek to resolve, there's a good chance that casting another one's also fine. Discard Street Wraith and Cryptic Serpent. So I didn't hit any Cascaders. Cycle the Street Wraith. So I guess he has to Living End this turn. And he does. I guess I need to play a rat colony and make a pack rat. Problem is... Oh well wait, no, he needs to kill me this turn. Otherwise I can just Leech Rid and swamp him. No, he's got a Brindle Ball, sorry. Okay. So this is 3, 6, 9, 20. Okay, I'm trying to think if there's a way I can block and then Leech Rid and Swamp, untap Leech Rid and Swamp. That would force him to sack the Brindle Bore. Then you only have 2 blockers. But then I need to block at least one creature to survive now, so that doesn't work. So I think the only action is to create a pack rat. Could block there. These go down to 3 3s. Block there, double block. That still kills both of these. Although I thought block there, double block there. But no, you can still distribute damage 3-2. And both of them would still die. I think that might still be my best line though. There is a chance, not a particularly high one, that he'll not necessarily a high one, but he might distribute damage incorrectly and only kill one of them. And a Dreamwinder. Can't attack unless defending player controls an island. Swarmyard. Doesn't really do anything. So these are all hitting, and I can only create 3 blockers. Don't think there's any way for me to survive here. Because if he was just if he was at 1 lower, I could Leech Rid and swamp him, and then he would be forced to sacrifice the Brindlebore as well. Okay. No beneficial attacks. And all he has to do is attack with everything, which I think he'll figure out, so... Maybe he'll skip past the Dreamwinder and not be able to attack with it. Nope. Yeah, so... block, 3, 6, 9, 11. And I'm dead. Oh, well, that was kind of an interesting match, at least on my side. It hasn't taken 6 more minutes until, because I kind of had all the interesting decisions. God, the question is, if I hadn't played that second Hymn to Tourach, which hit a, I think it was like a Street Wraith and another cycling thing, then he wouldn't have had as many creatures come back from the living end. So it's a possibility that if I hadn't cast the second one, then I could have I wouldn't have lost there. I don't know. I'm trying to think now whether I think it's correct or not, because it really is just a toss-up between whether I just hit a couple more creatures for him to bring back, or I actually take out a Cascade spell or something. And the fact that he did Force of Will the first one, certainly think makes it seem, from his perspective, with the information he had, he didn't want me to resolve a Hymn to Tourach. So I think that's reasonable grounds to cast the second one. I don't know, it's an interesting problem. But there we are, 2-1 with the rats. Okay, here we are back with the rat deck. But before I talk about the deck itself, I want to talk a bit more about the that last game against TLR and the decision to cast the second Hymn to Tourach after he Force of Will the first, because I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days while I was editing and stuff. I think my reasoning that the fact that he Force of Willed the first one meant that the second one was probably a good idea was flawed. Just because the Force of Willing a Hymn to Tourach is so similar to being hit by a Hymn to Tourach that you're essentially paying one life and the cost of one of the cards going into exile to be able to essentially change it from 2 random cards to 2 chosen cards. So there's not a lot of cost to him Force of Willing the first one. It allowed him to basically just choose which cards he wanted to discard, which means that not only did he might not have necessarily had a Cascade card in hand and he just wanted to protect cycling cards. He cycled a Street Wraith and I hit another one with the second Hymn, so he had at least 2 cycling cards in hand. He might have just wanted to protect those to try and loot into a Cascade card, and the thing he exiled was a Cryptic Serpent, and I hit another one with the Hymn to Tourach, so they weren't like exiling a Cryptic Serpent there was incredibly low cost, and if I'd hit both his Street Wraiths and he just had like a Cryptic Serpent or whatever and something else, that might have been bad for him. So, and also the alternative to him to Touraching was to make another Pack Rat, which would be another 3 damage because I had 3 attacking Pack Rats, which would have been a relevant amount of damage to do to him because I hit him down to, I believe, 6. That would have put him down to 3 instead, when he had a fetch land and I had a Leechwood Swamp on the field, and also it meant he wouldn't have been able to cycle both Street Wraiths or even cycle a Street Wraith and crack his fetch land. So I mean, I sort of took a shortcut of assuming that since he forced the will out, that meant the second one was correct to cast, but if I thought about it a bit more, I think I might be able to reason that wasn't necessarily the case. That, I mean, obviously, with the benefit of hindsight, it works out very poorly for me, but I just hit another couple of creatures for him to put into play, but I think even in the time, the decision was incorrect. Alright, enough obsessing over that Hymn to Tourach decision. Let's talk about the deck itself. Okay, so Rat Colony, that was the main test for the deck, and I did like it. It did help improve the deck's aggressiveness considerably. I mean, in this 2-drop slot, you'd be looking at things like oh god, what's it called? Discard Rat. Ravenous Rats. And maybe think I had like Nezumi Shortfang in that position, and it's so much more difficult to apply pressure, those sorts of things, that flipped Nezumi Shortfang is fairly decent inevitability, but it takes so long to flip it. Not sure 14 is the correct number. Obviously, that's when you can have any number of cards. It's the exact number is pretty difficult to hone in on. Other things, Fatal Push. Maybe 4 is too many. I mean, with just 4 fetch lands and then like Cabal Therapy and then just combat for trading off, maybe it's just a little bit too unreliable to get Revolt, so maybe 4 of those is just too many for my version of the deck. Cabal Therapy, I think I've talked about it before, is a card I really enjoy just because it's such an interesting thing to make decisions on. But there aren't a huge. I mean, in previous versions of the deck, there was a lot more just sort of chaff creatures like Ravenous Rats. You didn't mind sacrificing off, but now it's sort of Typhoid Rats is in certain situations fine to, depending on what you're facing, fine to sacrifice to it, and Shivering Rats is usually fine to sacrifice to it. But generally, I don't want to be sacrificing rat colonies. I mean, I can if the need calls for it. But generally I want them in play. So I put 14 of them in the deck. So, and Cabal Therapy is fundamentally a fairly high variance card, especially in a format that's like Tribal Wars, where people can play some pretty wild things, and you never know when you're going to hit. I mean, funnily enough, I checked the Dice Shuffler's deck list after the event in the so on that second round against Dice Shuffler, when I Cabal Therapy for Rat Colony. I actually got super lucky because they only had one Rat Colony in their entire deck, and I did manage to hit it. I mean, I hadn't really considered that, but you don't necessarily have to run more than 4. It's still just a good card in a good aggressive card in a rat deck. So Typhoid Rats, it's not bad, and it's very good with Swarmyard, but it is a very defensive creature. I mean, on the attack it's basically got unblockable, except when you really need it. I'm not likely to block a 1/1. Well, unfortunately, the one-drop rats are a bit sketchy in my opinion. There's Drainpipe Vermin. When it dies, you may pay 1. If you do, target player discards a card. I think this is just a very clunky card, a little bit too clunky. I don't like it that much because unless you've got Cabal Therapy, I think the deck would need ways to be able to sacrifice this. Because if you're just hoping to trade it in combat, they're very unlikely to block it if you attack with it. It's just a 1/1, so who cares? And on defense, it means you have to hold up a swamp forever, and that can ruin your curve just for this card, which not really that good. I don't think that. It is nice with Cabal Therapy. It can be nice with Cabal Therapy, but I think it would require too much messing around to get to work. Carrion Rats is more aggressive, but whenever Carrion Rats attacks or blocks any play may exile a card from my graveyard. Not really ideal, and you'd making them discard and killing their creatures and stuff. Too likely to just be a blank too much of the time. And the one that I most considered was Sewer Rats, which is not great certainly, but pay 1 life gets +1/+0 until end of turn. No more than 3 times each turn, so I won't want to run 4 of these because they're just so miserable in multiples, but it does have much better potential to be aggressive. It's sort of debatable because it's obviously not that good on turn 1. You don't want to spend turn 2 putting mana into this instead of actually playing something. So I mean, I guess it's not even necessarily that much more aggressive than Typhoid Rats, and the Deathless and Typhoid Rats is probably still better in the late game. So I think I'm not super thrilled about Typhoid Rats. It's okay, but like I said, not very aggressive. But I think it is. I think the deck does need some 1-drop rats. Just 1-drop rat into turn 2 rat colony is much better than not turn 1. And I mean, if you take out the Typhoid Rats, you don't really want to. Usually, don't want to play Faithful Push on turn 1. Cabal Therapy on the play. Don't want to do that on turn 1 if you don't know what you're playing against, obviously. So it just leaves the deck with so few 1-drops, which I don't like. So I think Typhoid Rats have to stay around. Other 2-drop slot, we're obviously looking at any other rat I play has to be able to demonstrate itself do better than Rat Colony. So obviously talked already about the discard. Ravenous Rats. It's possibly better, like just maybe a copy or 2. I'm not super convinced about that. Izumi Shortfang, which I think now that the deck is so much more aggressive and Rat Colony focused, I don't think the clunkiness if this makes much sense anymore. And the only other thing I think I would consider is, I think I faced in round 2 Nezumi Grave Robber. Exiled a card from an opponent's graveyard if no cards in the graveyard, flip Nezumi Grave Robber, and then 5 mana. So it's a pretty big mana investment, and it's a weird card because for the front side of it, you don't want to get too many cards into the opponent's graveyard, but the back side of it wants lots of cards in the graveyard, so it can be a little bit awkward with the discard. But I mean, it does add a little bit of graveyard hate, which is nice to have in this format. That I don't know to what extent it would have been good enough against TLR's living end thing. Just because 2 mana to exile just 1 creature is quite a lot, but it would have been a useful tool in that matchup. And it does give the deck a bit. I mean, a 2/1 is not good for 2, but it's not the worst in terms of dealing damage. And it gives the deck some late game, extra late game power. So again, I wouldn't want too many of the copies of this just because it's not very good in multiples, but 1 or 2 might make its way in. And then the 3-drop slot, considering another Chittering Rats, I don't think I want 4, but I think it is a bit better than... I mean, usually I've skipped it in previous version of Rats, but I think it is... just because I found it a bit too unreliable, but I think it is better in this deck, which has a little bit less discard and a little more aggression, so you're less likely to find yourself in a situation where you're casting it against an opponent who's got no cards in hand and it's just a miserable 3 mana 2/2. There are also considerations are Stronghold Rats. I've had this in previous versions, although that was when I had more ninjutsu stuff in there, which made it better, but it's just essentially unblockable. That's what Shadow generally reads. When it deals combat damage to a player, each player discards a card. So it can be a little awkward on turn 3 if you haven't cleared your hand out by turn 4 or whatever. But I mean, unblockability is a nice thing to have in these sort of rat colony to bring the opponent's life down, and then it does sort of similar thing to Leechweed and Swarm, where you can just get in the last 2 or 4 or 6 points of damage past blockers. When there's a non-zero chance that the opponent's expended their removal on Rat Colony and Pack Rat or what have you. But I mean, it is 3 mana 2/1. It is possible to get into situations where you play it and you don't even want to attack with it because you've got too much good stuff in hand, and then it can't even block, so it's a little bit miserable in that situation. And the only other real consideration is the ninjutsu Throat Slitter, 3 mana, return an unblocked attacker you control to hand, put into play attacking, and it deals combat damage to player, destroy target non-black creature that player controls. It's pretty good with Typhoid Rats because there's a decent chance they won't block Typhoid Rats, and then because they'll lose their creature anyway, and then you can just ninjutsu this in. And obviously pretty good with Chittering Rats if you never get that through, just because you get an extra ETB. With Rat Colony, I mean, it's so fragile and so aggressive that there's not a huge chance that they won't block Rat Colony, so... And obviously it can be awkward with Pack Rats, with the Pack Rat tokens, because then you just lose the token. And I sort of feel like it gets very difficult to get it to hit after the initial ninjutsu to trigger it again, just because it's only a 2/2 and there's so much incentive for the opponent to block it. So maybe that's not good enough. And I don't really think that the deck, with the focus on the Rat Colony and being more aggressive, I don't really think the deck wants anything more expensive than the 3 stuff. Only other thing to talk about, I think it's Murderous Cut. It was not great I think I only drew it once or twice. But you can have draws where it's very cheap, where you're going Inquisition into Torak and trading off rat colonies and what have you, or pack ratting and filling your graveyard that way. I think it is probably too often like a... It's not super likely to be a 5 mana card, but 4 mana, 3 mana. It's only really great when you get down to 1 or 2. Maybe if I had more fetch lands, it could be more. But maybe this should just be like a... I think the deck does want a bit of unconditional removal, just because Inquisition only hits up to 3, CMC 3, Third Approach only kills up to 2 or 4 depending on the situation, so I think the deck does need some unconditional removal, but maybe just like one of not Murder, okay, Hero's Downfall maybe. Would have been nice against the Obnates. And Mana Base, obviously not a lot to talk about there. 4th Swarmyard. Swarmyard's good, but I mean getting 2 Swarmyards in your hand in the early turns where you want to play into Thorax and a 2 mana thing and a 1 mana thing on the same turn, it can be pretty awkward. Leecher and Swamp I was pretty happy with, actually. I think just a one-off with the fetch lands is... the downside is low enough and the upside is high enough that it's worthwhile. The other consideration is Mutavault. You can say 2/2 creature with all creature types until end of turn still land, because that's good with Rat Colony and Pack Rat. It's a bit more expensive than I'd want to pay. It's not outrageous, but I'm not jumping at the opportunity with, unless I've got something else I want to put it in. And obviously that's more colourless things. I might have to up the count of Urborgs as well if I was to add Mutavault. Just because obviously Urborgs are pretty bad in multiples as well, they're legendary, but Urborg, colourless land is so much better than Swamp, colourless land. Anyway, I think I rambled on sufficiently long here. I do like rats as a try, they're pretty interesting. They have a lot of interesting tools, but there's nothing really in the tribe that like obviously screams out this is the way to build it. Except for Pack Rat, I suppose. I did like this version of it. Do like the extra aggression. And it's something I'll continue to work on. Thank you for watching.